All right, everyone, we are at Gateway Arch National Park in Missouri, the place that everyone's like, why is this a national park? I don't know, but I'm excited to check it out. And then to keep this video from being 2 minutes long, we're also going to be checking out the St. Louis City Museum nearby as well. Stay tuned to figure out what that is, because that is super unique. Okay, let's rewind a bit before even delving into St. Louis. This is the first of 3 Travel Dash videos I plan to release from a recent 3-week-long theme park focused road trip, which I dedicated to my other YouTube channel, Coaster Dash. Hopefully this isn't news to any of you, but my biggest passion by far has to be traveling the world in search of its best roller coasters, vlogging those experiences, and then reviewing them. This trip was primarily centered around the Midwestern United States, and especially Missouri, where we spent the most amount of days compared to all the other states we visited. A part of that is due to the Travel Dash related activities we experienced on our first day there, which I'll be sharing with you all today. Now, this is going to be highly unusual for the channel as there's little to no natural scenery to talk about, but rather a few attractions in Missouri's largest metro area and second biggest city, St. Louis. More specifically, a couple friends and I head to its downtown with the intent of visiting a national park, if you can believe it. The Gateway Arch is quite possibly one of America's most iconic man-made landmarks, and it was established as the Jefferson National Memorial in 1935. This was to commemorate the Louisiana Purchase and subsequent westward movement of American explorers, as the arch is situated near the starting point of the Lewis and Clark expedition. Hidden underneath it is actually a huge, free-to-enter museum, which I didn't spend a ton of time in as someone that isn't much of a history buff, but this particular topic I did find quite interesting, and what I did see was great. If you are super into history, you could easily spend a couple hours in this place. There's no question about it. Fast forward to 2018, and Gateway Arch, along with its immediate surroundings, were redesignated a national park, the 60th in America, and by far the tiniest. The change has been controversial to say the least, as national parks almost always showcase conserved natural landmarks and ample opportunities for outdoor recreation, whereas sites primarily focusing on historical significance are given some other designation. The Gateway Arch was no exception for the longest time, as national memorial status was completely reasonable, and I think one could even make the argument that it could have been a national monument. While there's no way to know for sure, my best guess as to why it became a national park was economic benefit. We've seen with the other newest national parks that they're simply less grand and spectacular than the likes of, I don't know, our Yellowstones and Yosemites. And that's not because there aren't other amazing areas deserving of the status. Rather, I think it's to promote tourism. I don't even agree with like the Indiana Dunes or Cuyahoga Valley being a national park, but at least those you can argue deserve it as they're fully natural and certainly worth protecting. The Gateway Arch, on the other hand, I feel very little of the public actually supports being a part of this lineup, as it's almost humiliating to the other 62 parks in the system. But in any case, let's get on with our experience, which I will say was a lot of fun. As much as this doesn't make sense as a national park, it is a very interesting place to visit in general, especially if you have the opportunity to take one of these capsule-like elevators to the top of the arch. While not required to book in advance, it is highly recommended that you reserve a time online, and so what if you get there early? That just means more time to check out the museum and the rest of the national park. A ride up to the top will run you just under $20 a person, which in my opinion is worth it for the one time. To access the elevators, you'll want to make your way through the museum, which by the way, you need to partake in a TSA-like security check to access, and to me that's just another reason this feels nothing like the other national parks, because what? Anyways, just follow signs to the north or south tram, whichever one you've been assigned, and you'll wait in a line where you'll be given a boarding pass. Then you'll watch a short video which was extremely bizarre, unnecessary, and frankly irrelevant to the history of the arch. Just bear with it, it's worth the pain of watching this cringe fest to get to the top. You'll board one of 8 barrels on either leg of the arch, and immediately we were taken aback by how minuscule these were. We're on an elevator right now that is 4 feet tall. It is very claustrophobic. Bro, this is crazy right now. What is going on? How are we in a national park? These elevator pods are hands down one of the most fascinating conveyance systems I've ever seen. Not only are they extremely claustrophobic, but they're also unique in that they rotate approximately 155 degrees during the trip to the top. You'll quickly maneuver past a set of more than 1,000 stairs, which are required to be lit at all times in case of an emergency. The ride is about 4 minutes long, and the entire time you'll probably be flabbergasted the same way we were. Upon reaching your destination, there's a short but steep set of stairs to the tippy top of the 630-foot tall Gateway Arch. Although you're only given a little under 10 minutes to appreciate the view, it is absolutely mesmerizing. There's a ton of these super skinny windows that you have to lean over to look out of, and I'm not gonna lie, this scared the crap out of me. Oh my gosh, that's too much, bro. That is so cool. But it is totally worth overcoming any fear you may have to see this, both facing east and west. The former is the less impressive of the two views, but still really cool. You look out over the Mississippi River, which acts as the state line between Missouri and Illinois, and is also one of the most important and significant rivers in not only the country, but perhaps the entire world. So I suppose that's something natural you get out of a visit here. Also, if you look down, you can see the imposing shadow possessed by the Gateway Arch, and due to the lack of any support structure in the middle of it, it's also quite terrifying. But I'm biased towards the west-facing view as someone who loves a good city skyline, and St. Louis is no exception. It's quite beautiful from up here with the green space down at the bottom, complementing the unique blend of old and modern buildings in the downtown area. Shout out to the old courthouse straight ahead at the bottom, which I'll talk more about in a second, and Busch Stadium to the left, which my buddy Jack was nerding out about since he's a major sports guy.
So Busch Stadium is the stadium for the St. Louis Cardinals MLB team. It is known as one of the best stadiums in Major League Baseball. The stadium overlooks the Gateway Arch, so we are behind the outfield. So when you sit in seats behind home plate, you can look out behind the outfield and see the Gateway Arch.
I've never experienced anything like this. This is actually really terrifying, to be honest. I love it. We wrapped up at the viewing area and then made our way back down the elevators with the mission to find something good to eat. Since we were dedicating a full day of our road trip to St. Louis, I wanted to try a food item that was popular in the area, and what I landed on was either toasted ravioli, my preferred choice, or St. Louis style ribs, or St. Louis style pizza. The former is what I just so happened to find in the national park, which was a major shock, and it was also delicious. We walked over to the Gateway Arch restaurant, wondering how ludicrously expensive it's going to be given that it's in a national park, and it turns out it's actually reasonable, and the food is pretty great. I wanted to try toasted ravioli coming to St. Louis because I know it's one of the items we're well known for, so it was really cool that we just got to try some at the Gateway Arch, literally. To wrap up our time in Gateway Arch National Park, we made our way across the street to the old courthouse, which I think is the most beautiful piece of architecture here, even more so than the arch itself. You can participate in a free self-guided tour of the structure, including its 4 new museum galleries that open in May 2025. Aside from westward expansion, the national park also commemorates the debate over slavery raised by the Dred Scott case, which is the focus of the old courthouse. While it was the site of hundreds of suits for freedom, this had to be the most significant as the decade-long fight declared that the Missouri Compromise was unconstitutional, setting the stage for the Civil War. All in all, while I disagree just as much after visiting that this place makes sense as a national park, I do want to make it clear that it is well worth your time. I honestly enjoyed my time here maybe a little more so than my other least favorite parks, Indiana Dunes and Cuyahoga Valley, but I still might end up ranking it lower due to its misclassification. We'll see. Heading just over a mile away, let's now talk about the St. Louis City Museum, one of the most intriguing places I've ever visited in the entire country. We made it to the St. Louis City Museum. Bro, look at that school bus hanging off the side of the building. That's crazy. This is like my top bucket list museum in the country. It should be pretty obvious as to why just by looking at it. It's crazy. There's nothing like this. Let's get one thing straight. If the Gateway Arch was already a reach to be including on this channel, the City Museum is even more so. But the way I see it is if I'm already going to be talking this much about something that isn't nature related, but is relatively adjacent, I suppose, I also want to throw in something located in the same city that happens to be theme park adjacent. Because I think if you're a fan of either of my YouTube channels, you'll find one or both of these spots interesting. And I'll once again reiterate that I'm not trying to have this video be the shortest thing ever, so that was more reason to feature it. The City Museum is wacky as all get out, largely consisting of repurposed industrial objects housed in a super historic building with all sorts of slides and obstacle courses. It originally opened in 1997 and is operated by Premier Parks, the same company that owns major amusement parks such as Elitch Gardens in Colorado, Magic Springs in Arkansas, and Wild Waves in Washington State. It's won many local and international awards as a must-see destination and has been described as a wild, singular vision of an oddball artistic mind, that mind in question being that of Bob Casselleys, the founder. A regular day ticket will run you $20, which is certainly reasonable for what you get, and then you'll have the option to partake in some upcharge experiences as well. For example, they have some of their craziest art installations and attractions up on the rooftop, which sadly we had to bypass due to a lack of time, but with 4 other floors to explore, this wasn't too big of a deal to us. Now, I went into the City Museum relatively blind, not knowing exactly what to expect. I knew it was crazy and that I'd be going down slides, but I was clueless about the layout of the place and what there was to prioritize. So instead, I went down the route that I'm sure many take when they visit a theme park, and that's head straight for whatever it is I saw first. Oh my gosh, look at this slide. This is unbelievable. So up first for us was the super long rainbow slide, which I imagine is one of the most popular and iconic in the City Museum. While it's visually impressive from on and off ride, it actually turned out to be one of my least favorite slides due to a shallow angle of descent. Granted, I don't think I was wearing the right pants as my friend seemed to be going down at a faster clip than I did on virtually all the slides. Afterwards, we made our way back up to the second level and on the way discovered this hidden passage engraved into the wall. Oh my god!
Bro, what? Mark.
Oh! We climbed through these super tight spaces and came out on the second floor, where we then came to the realization that just about everywhere in the City Museum was intertwined by passages and tunnels just like this. Oh my gosh, look at this! This is unbelievable! We legitimately found ourselves overwhelmed, so instead we chose to head to the outdoor area, which was more approachable since you could see everything out in front of you. Dubbed Monstro City, this is by far the scariest attraction here depending on the route you take, as you'll find yourself climbing dozens of feet in the air. I liken it to a large outdoor playground intended for all audiences and age demographics. There's random structures like an airplane and castle turret situated throughout Monstro City that act as checkpoints. The most challenging sections we had to navigate were like vertical climbs to upper levels that you could only access by crawling through things like this.
I just kind of had to get my body up.
It's so funny.
And then push with your feet.
Oh my god. When you make it to things like the plane or castle turret, there are some incredible photo opportunities that demonstrate how truly whimsical this place is. Another thing I loved about the outdoor section of the City Museum is that you have equally as impressive slides that connect one section with another. And it seemed like whenever you made it to a high point, as a reward, there was a slide to take you back down to the bottom. Oh! We found this especially steep half-pipe-esque slide that was pretty gnarly and got some hilarious reactions out of everyone. As we made our way back inside, we noticed that there was an aquarium, which was totally random, but what else should I have expected from the City Museum?
Axolotl!
No fucking way, they have axolotls, bro. Seeing sea creatures like axolotls were not on my bingo card, but it was so cool. And then we started spotting even more tunnels like the ones we explored earlier that seemed to connect the aquarium with elsewhere in the museum. So we go through that, and suddenly we're in this dark, ominous area with spiral slides the likes of which I'd never seen before. These are referred to as the 10-story slides, which equates to more than 100 feet in height, but sadly the actual 10-story slide itself hasn't operated in some time now due to safety concerns. We were able to experience the slightly smaller iterations though, and they were pretty nuts. You actually round these corners at such a quick speed that you might find yourself grinding against the wall and bruising yourself. After exploring this portion of the museum a little more thoroughly, we crawled back through the way we came and went up another floor. This, in my opinion, was the highlight of our time in the City Museum, which is saying a lot. They have what they call a skateless skate park, which is a collection of ramps and steep drop-offs for you to slide down. There are legitimately no restrictions here, which kind of blew my mind because I feel like it would be so easy to hurt yourself.
Go, go, go.
And then behind the skate park was a playground of sorts with smaller scale slides that once again seemed to intertwine everything all together. I don't exactly remember what happened from here, but one thing led to another and suddenly we were going down a fast, steep slide that emptied out to a window view of the outside world. You know, just to remind you how much cooler it is in here than out there.
Oh! Oh! That was maybe the best one.
We found ourselves scrambling through tight hidden walkways seemingly inside of the walls and roof of this floor, and then we stumbled upon what would become our last slide of the day for multiple reasons. I mean, primarily we were just running out of time, but also there was a wedding reception down one floor and someone thought to put a vase of some kind in front of the exit to this slide, which had to be one of the fastest we'd come across. But here's the thing, we couldn't see the vase super clearly from up top, so what happened next was crazy. So, yeah, let's not talk about what just happened here. We offered to clean up, but they declined, so we quickly made our way out of the building, concluding a relatively short but incredibly memorable visit to the City Museum and St. Louis as a whole. Oh my gosh, we've been hyping this up for the past half a year. We wanted to go here for so long, and it lived up to the hype. That was so much fun.
This place was incredible, man. I was super excited, and it lived up to the hype, if not exceeded expectations. Like, I like this more than a lot of amusement parks. Architecture is so cool. It's just like, you just find random stuff everywhere. If you love exploring and like adventurous stuff, you will love this place.
Did you guys have fun?
Yeah, oh my god.
That was so unexpected.
I didn't know what to expect, but that surpassed my expectations.
I was just climbing and doing whatever the course took me on. Like, I didn't know my body was capable of some of those things. That was insane. What a random place. It's so fun.
It's definitely worth checking out.
And in St. Louis of all places, you just never expect to see that here. That was so rad. I would highly, highly encourage you to check it out if you're going to Gateway Arch National Park. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.